Welcome to Rock Legends, where we dive deep into the stories that shaped rock, rebellion, and revolution. Today, we're going into the chaos, the tragedy, and the legend of one man whose name defined punk's most dangerous edge: Sid Vicious, the Sex Pistols' bad boy, the face of anarchy, and a symbol of self-destruction.
When you think of punk, his image just immediately pops into your head, right? That sneer, the chains, the whole attitude. He almost became bigger than the music itself for a lot of people.
Absolutely, John. He was the embodiment of that don't give a damn ethos. It wasn't just about the songs, it was about the raw, visceral energy he projected. For a whole generation, he was punk.
And that's the fascinating paradox, isn't it? He was arguably the least musically talented member of the Sex Pistols, yet his persona, his sheer presence, cemented their icon status in a way no other bassist could have. It was a perfect storm of image and opportunity.
Indeed, this is Sid Vicious, the last 24 hours of punk. We're going to peel back the layers of the legend, starting with a moment that really captured the essence of the band's confrontational spirit. Back in 1977, John Lydon, better known as Johnny Rotten, and Sid Vicious faced a hostile music press that didn't understand punk. In one infamous interview, Sid and Johnny tore apart every expectation of fame, fashion, and music itself. Let's listen to a recreation of that moment.
I don't care about anything. Bootlegs, critics, they can all go to hell.
We're meant to be promoting our product, but we couldn't care less. That's punk, innit?
They laughed, insulted each other, and mocked every rule in music, but underneath the sneer was a band already breaking apart, and a friendship that was unraveling fast.
That interview really highlighted their contempt for the establishment, but also, I think, a growing internal tension. Johnny was the articulate provocateur, Sid was the chaotic force. It was a dynamic that couldn't last forever.
It was almost like a performance in itself, wasn't it? They knew they were being watched, and they leaned into the role, but beneath that you could sense the volatility. They were literally daring the world to dislike them.
And it worked, didn't it? They became public enemy number one, which was exactly what punk needed to ignite. It wasn't about being loved, it was about being impossible to ignore.
It absolutely did. Before the chaos, though, Sid was just John Simon Ritchie, a shy kid from South London. His mother Anne was part of the hippie scene, drifting between drugs and dreamers. He grew up surrounded by addiction, and that early environment, I think, really shaped him.
You can't underestimate the impact of that upbringing. It wasn't a stable environment, and it seems he was looking for a sense of belonging, a tribe. And when the punk scene exploded in 1976, Sid found it. He found his name too, famously given by Johnny Rotten after his pet hamster, Sid Vicious. The joke stuck, and Sid made it his identity.
That's wild, isn't it? From a hamster to a legend. It just goes to show how much of punk was about reinvention, about shedding your old skin and becoming something entirely new, even if it was just a caricature of aggression.
And Malcolm McLaren, the Sex Pistols manager, was a master at cultivating that image. When original bassist Glenn Matlock left, McLaren needed someone who wasn't just a musician, but a statement, someone dangerous. He got Sid, a man who could barely play, but looked like the revolution.
Exactly. Sid didn't just join punk, he became it. His lack of musical skill was almost irrelevant. His raw charisma, his willingness to embody the anarchy, that's what made him perfect for the Pistols' aesthetic.
He literally learned to play bass on the fly. There are stories of him playing with his amp turned down during early gigs, just so no one could hear his mistakes. But the visual, the sheer energy, that's what people responded to.
And I think that's why he connected with so many young people. You didn't have to be a virtuoso, you just had to have something to say, or at least a powerful way to look like you had something to say. It was incredibly empowering for anyone who felt like an outsider.
He represented the ultimate rejection of polished rock stars. He was anti-skill, anti-fame in the traditional sense, purely about the visceral impact. It was a carefully constructed rebellion, but for a moment, it felt utterly authentic.
That authenticity, or at least the perception of it, was key. But then, in 1977, Sid met Nancy Spungen, an American groupie with a drug habit and a dangerous charm. They were inseparable and toxic. Nancy introduced Sid to heroin. Together, they spiraled.
It was a relationship that everyone around them saw as a catastrophe waiting to happen. Friends called them the Romeo and Juliet of punk, but their love was built on chaos and codependency, fueled by drugs and a shared desire to escape reality.
It's such a tragic romance, though. You can see why they were drawn to each other. Both outsiders, both intense, both living on the edge. But it was just a downward spiral, wasn't it? Heroin just amplified all their vulnerabilities.
Indeed, when the Pistols collapsed in '78, Sid and Nancy moved to New York's Chelsea Hotel, the heart of the underground scene. There, in October of that year, Nancy was found dead, stabbed in the stomach. Sid claimed he couldn't remember what happened. He was charged with murder. It was the ultimate tragic culmination of their destructive relationship.
A horrifying turn of events that solidified their status as punk's most doomed couple. The whole world watched as the spectacle unfolded, this once feared icon now just a shell of a man, facing the gravest charges imaginable.
And the Chelsea Hotel itself adds to the myth, doesn't it? A place notorious for its bohemian residents, its artistic ghosts. It feels like the perfect, grim backdrop for such a dark chapter in their story.
It really does. It's like something out of a movie. But this wasn't fiction. This was real life, real addiction, and ultimately real death. And the mystery of what truly happened that night has only added to the legend, hasn't it?
Absolutely. The circumstances surrounding Nancy's death are still debated, theories ranging from Sid himself to other drug dealers present, even a suicide pact gone wrong. But the immediate result was Sid's arrest and his rapid decline while awaiting trial.
Which brings us to February 1st, 1979. Sid wakes up inside Rikers Island Jail, terrified and alone. After 55 days of withdrawal and humiliation, he's released on bail, his mother paying the price. But Sid's freedom will last less than 24 hours.
Can you imagine the pressure, the relief of getting out, mixed with the weight of that murder charge and the severe withdrawal he'd been through? It was a ticking time bomb. Instead of celebration, his mother buys him heroin. At a small party that night, Sid overdoses but survives. Hours later, he begs for more. His mother, Anne, gives it to him.
Oh, that's just heart-wrenching. His own mother. It's so complicated. Was it an act of mercy, desperation, a continuation of the cycle of addiction she herself was caught in? You just want to scream, no, stop.
By 2 a.m., Sid Vicious is dead. The coroner rules it an overdose, but later Anne confesses she injected him herself. Whether it was an act of mercy or madness, no one will ever truly know. It's one of the most chilling footnotes in rock history.
It's a truly haunting detail, isn't it? The ambiguity of that final act makes his story even more tragic and complex. To think of the desperation, the despair, on both their parts, leading to such a fatal conclusion. It really highlights the destructive power of addiction, not just on the individual, but on families. His mother clearly loved him, but that love was twisted by the grip of drugs and the impossible situation they found themselves in. And the fact that it was supposed to be a celebration of his release, only for it to end in such a dark way, it just compounds the tragedy. No happy ending for Sid, ever.
His death unfortunately served to cement his myth. He became a martyr for a specific strain of punk rock, forever young, forever rebellious, forever a symbol of self-destruction. It's a dark legacy, but undeniably a powerful one.
Sid's death ended the brief, violent life of punk's most tragic figure. He was just 21. The Sex Pistols became legend, punk moved on, but Sid Vicious stayed frozen in time, a sneer, a chain, and a cigarette.
He wasn't the best musician. Honestly, he was barely a musician. He wasn't even the best punk in terms of ideology or songwriting. That was clearly Johnny Rotten. But Sid symbolized something raw, youth, rebellion, and self-destruction at its loudest. That image, that raw emotion, it resonated and still does.
I think that's it, John. He was the visual, the visceral representation of punk's outrage. For all the complexity of the music and the politics, Sid was the gut punch, the I don't care attitude personified. And that's something you can't really teach or fabricate.
His legacy is complicated. On one hand, he's an icon of defiance. On the other, he's a stark warning about the dangers of unchecked excess and addiction. It's hard to separate the legend from the very real human tragedy.
Absolutely, that duality is what makes his story so enduring and so poignant. He encapsulated an era, a movement, and a cautionary tale all at once. His life and death left an indelible mark on music history.
And you still see elements of his style, his attitude, in so many artists who came after him. He inadvertently laid a blueprint for a certain kind of rebellious aesthetic, even if he couldn't play a single chord perfectly.
He truly did. He proved that sometimes the message, the look, the pure unapologetic attitude is more powerful than technical skill. He was the ultimate anti-hero, and his story continues to captivate because it's so raw, so human, so flawed.
It's a reminder that rock and roll isn't always about talent. Sometimes it's about pure, unadulterated spectacle, and Sid Vicious, for better or worse, provided that spectacle in spades.
Indeed. This has been Rock Legends. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow and join us next time when we uncover the untold story of another rock icon who changed music forever. Until then, keep it loud, keep it real, and never mind the bollocks. Here's Rock Legends.